to the new self-image and then refreezing into the new one so that it stays as part of the individual and they continue on. You will experience this part of it, the new self-image part of it, in various degrees of these three steps. The three steps are there, but the process may be extremely subtle in how it changes you. I think at Google, they didn't give us enough information on how they introduced a new employee to the system. And based on the Fortune article, I'm sensing that it's extremely informal. So you kind of have to, sort it out for yourself and make mistakes as you go on. So if you, on Jammy Day, it appears that you have two choices, jammies or a tuxedo. That's what I read in the thing. So you show up on Jammy Day and you didn't pick up on this, so you come in jeans and a shirt, and the way you're dressed is acceptable for Google. And they're going to look at you as really strange. And you quickly unfreeze, from what you were doing. Several processes within the stage. And this does not have, by the way, in the middle of page 134, there is not a heading that says socialization processes, but the paragraph starts that way. There are several. One is indoctrination programs. Now, some companies, especially if there are safety concerns or concerns about honesty in handling money and assets of the company, they may have a formal period, 1 day or more, in which you go through formal training. And we call it indoctrination. Second one is apprenticeship or mentoring. Now, and these are the opposites of each other. Apprenticeship means if you are the apprentice, you're going to learn from the designated mentor, whoever that is. And I'm saying this deliberately because of the film that's coming up. And the apprentice in trades, there's formal apprenticeship moments where you are an apprentice, and then once you pass that particular test, whatever it is, you then move on to a higher level. But you are literally learning from a mentor, which is at least a single other individual. And if each person has a different mentor, there's the possibility of learning something different. And therefore, the result is not necessarily uniform for the organization. Also, page 135, a training program. Those of you who are going to seek the CPA and become professional accountants, when you go to any of the accounting firms as a newbie, you're going to go through a training program. Do you know that? Big time. They'll basically tell you to forget everything you learned, you're going to learn it now. Even though we work closely with all the accounting firms. But they'll say, now, this is whatever the names of these companies are anymore, and I just don't know any. This is how we do it. A manual. You'll get a manual maybe about that thick. They'll issue you a laptop computer that's certified by them and has all their software on it. And you will start to learn what it's like to become whatever it's called. Then lastly, it's my favorite, debasement or upending experiences. And these are emotional moments that happen to us during the socialization process. Now, debasement experiences are deliberately designed to tear you down, to bring you to your knees, if not to your toenails. No, they typically won't kill you, but it gets real close. An example that happened to me at Lackland Air Force Base as a basic trainer, I don't know if they still do it when you went through, but we had to go through the tear gas room. The nice thing about going through the tear gas room is that you wear a gas mask. Right? So you don't experience the tear gas. For whatever reason, on that particular day, I chose to mouth off. I lost it. I don't know what I did. I don't remember. But the sergeant looked at me. He said, "Airman, you go in that room without your mask." It's probably illegal for them to do that. Have you ever inhaled tear gas? You have? Mace. Same thing, I think. It was excruciating. Now, he was careful enough not to expose me to it for an excessively long period. But did I get the point about mouthing off? See, when you're 17 and a half years old, you don't quite have all the brain cells yet. I didn't know that until last week. And I've raised 3 kids, so now I understand. So when I was 17 and a half, I didn't realize I had a deformed brain. And therefore, I would... Do you know that? Your brain is not fully developed until you're like 25. And for some, it doesn't come ever, but, you know, those of us with children... All right. So the last stage is change, the change stage, metamorphosis, and settling in. I'll leave that to you folks. And notice figure 6.3, the various responses that a person can have to organizational socialization. And the rebellious response, I'm highlighting it because that's the rejection of all aspects of the role, and typically you're out of the system. There can be, on the right-hand side, it says innovative. That can have some role in innovation, and if the organization allows it, you redefine the role. And a few of you in the E-exercise commented on some of that. So now, let's try our skills. Let's see, Robert, you can bring up the firm on the monitor, and I don't remember, I don't think there's any sound there, but if you bring it up, I'll know it's ready. Let me pause it. Which stage of socialization does this set of scenes show? Of the 3, which one? It should be obvious. Say it again.
Expectations.
Well, expectations is a result of the stage, but what is the name of the stage? He's not a member of an organization yet. Choice anticipatory. Now, he hasn't chosen a law firm, but notice he's talked to maybe 4 or 5 recruiters. What has he already learned about one of the law firms? The fellow was making a big point about you have a life outside the office. He said you work 2,000 hours, not the usual 2,500 hours. Now, the question for Mitch and for you is whether that recruiter is lying. Because for the accounting people, you just have to talk to some of our graduates, especially when you're the newbie accountant that's come into the company. Are you going to work 2,500 hours? You darn right. It's probably more like 2,800. And a lot of unpaid overtime and so on. So the question here is the image that a person develops from the anticipatory stage. Now, he's riding the bus, and he's going to a hotel. He just entered a hotel in Boston. I just stood in front of the place in June. Can't think of the name of it, but it's just an absolutely exquisite hotel. And watch what happens. And make believe you're Mitch, please, as you walk down the aisle, as you go to the room where you're going to get interviewed by the firm that's in Memphis, Tennessee. Mitch, which stage of socialization are you in? Which one? I can hear. Is he a member of the organization? No. He's still outside. So it's the anticipatory stage, and he's still developing expectations. I'm doing this with you deliberately because the setting of the anticipatory stage changes. And this is not an uncommon arrangement, especially in some of the higher occupations, accounting firms and lawyers and so on.
Is he not already experiencing some of the part of the system of reality? Because I mean, they're already...
Keep going. You're right on.
Into, some of the stuff that how they are. So I don't know. It's kind of still. It seems like it's anticipatory, but also like I said, we only sent you one. Basically, it wasn't they weren't asking. They're kind of telling you're on our team.
Yeah. Now, we reserve the entry and counter stage for when you cross the organizational boundary. And we keep everything that has to do with the interviewing, even if it occurs within the organization, where you're the guest, that's in the anticipatory stage. Now, the reason for it is the powerful set of expectations that we can develop in the stage. And he is. What does he think about working for this company? What's important? Say, no. Well, he's learning it. If Mitch is savvy, he's listening to everything that's going on. He's also assessing what's going on, and some the important events happened during that 2-minute interview. What were they? Up here.
Defining that the family, for one, and then he's also appealing to. Well, I thought it was funny sense my side. So it's like even they got from a higher society.
Mercedes, low interest loan for a mortgage. So, country club membership. Now, if you put all that together, if I'm Mitch sitting there and saying, now what are they doing to me? Must I own a home to represent the firm? And the answer is yes. But we'll help you out. I'm a college graduate with $150,000 in debt. Well, it turns out they pay it off. You'll learn that in a moment. And I don't mean to get ahead of it, but I happen to know that. So we're getting at the pivotal role behaviors. There was also a moment where Mitch should have noticed that there is something he should be suspicious about with the firm. There. They bribed somebody, and if you notice, what's his name on the right looked peculiarly at his colleague on the left after he said that, and Mitch didn't get it. And that plays a role in the film a little bit later. Now what we're going to have is Mitch coming home. Driving up is his wife. Okay. Still in the anticipatory stage, right? Am I correct? Has not crossed the boundary of employment with the firm, crossed the boundary of the firm for the on-site interviews. Now, this is not unusual, although not all of you would necessarily experience the recruitment process at this level of elegance. Mitch, I'm assuming you're a savvy person and you're paying attention to everything in your environment when you're in the anticipatory stage. This is also a hint to all of you to pay attention to every clue that comes your way. And your experience on the visit to Memphis was filled with evidence about what it's going to be like to work for the firm. So what is your impression, Mitch, now? And this is for the women, too. I'm not restricting it to the men.
Kind of cultish.
Cultish?
In the sense that they have a sense, standard, and belief, and for all involved parties, you're going to abide by that. And you
What specific items did you respond to?
Women handle themselves, where they kind of congregate, stay away from the men. There's very few. I don't know. Just in the background, I kind of noticed that they would.
No, you're okay.
Spoken to.
Now, Sidney Pollack is the director of this, and he knows what he's doing. He organized those scenes the way he did, where all the women were together and the men were together. Your comment up there.
With it all, and he just saw all the glitter, while apparently his wife had grown up in this environment.
Yes, she has.
She saw through some of the glitter, and when he did the backflips, she saw how his wife reacted,
yeah.
And then she's the one who's been getting the inside scoop on what the culture is in that area.
Beautiful, beautiful analysis. And she learns that they encourage having children. There was a woman once who worked for the firm, whatever he said, walking around on stilts. Go ahead.
Was it affirmative action on stilts?
Affirmative action.
It means that they didn't really want to choose.
No.
Affirmative action came in,
They had to, and then she lasted a short time. And if you're familiar with the film, or if we may or may not watch any more of it, because I want to get to some other things, you'd find that it's all male. It was all male people at the breakfast. Now, Mitch, do you have any evidence that there is a status ranking within this organization that's fairly strong? Okay, go ahead. What is it?
We had, when he first interviewed, it was that guy, and he seemed like he was below the guy to the right, and then the oldest guy was on top. He introduced him to the oldest guy first, and then that guy, and then...
Yeah, well, he introduced... The oldest one is a partner.